All right, we are back with Roto World Player News, headlined by some news to warm Matthew Berry's heart. Mike McCarthy is back in all of our lives as head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Matthew Berry, your reaction?
I love this. I'm super excited for it. I am so here for this. Look, I feel bad for Steelers fans. We have friends that are Steelers fans, but this is the universe, saying, hey, that fat security guard at Acrisure Stadium should not have been so rude to me. And so, what we're going to do, we're going to give you Mike Tomlin, just, disguised as Mike McCarthy. He's been, what's the difference between Mike Tomlin, who they were ready to run out of town, and Mike McCarthy, right? In the playoffs, he's 11-11, Mike McCarthy. He won one Super Bowl. That was in 2010. He's somebody that, basically gets you 8, 9, 10 wins a season, sometimes 11 or 12, but they will be a good to above average offense under Mike McCarthy, and they will fail in the playoffs. I've said this many times, and I stand by it. No coach in the history of the NFL has gotten less out of more talent than Mike McCarthy. Whether it was Aaron Rodgers, who might be the greatest quarterback to ever live. Like, we can talk about, forget the GOAT stuff, but just from a pure skills standpoint, Aaron Rodgers might be the greatest quarterback that ever lived. But he had peak Aaron Rodgers and all those years in Green Bay. And then he goes to Dallas, where he had a loaded team with Dak Prescott. And now he goes to a team that at the moment, maybe Aaron Rodgers comes back, but doesn't have the talent level that either of his previous two stops were. It's rare that you get a third chance at a head coaching job in the NFL. So shout out Mike McCarthy. Fantasy-wise, all jokes aside, because I'm not a huge Mike McCarthy guy, but fantasy-wise, it'll be fine for the players we care about. DK Metcalf will still get his. We'll see who the quarterback is. Jalen Warren will be fine. Don't know if Kenneth Gainwell gets as much run, but maybe. McCarthy has generally been a multi-running back guy. He certainly was in Green Bay. Mike McCarthy is the inspiration behind Free Aaron Jones. When I started the whole Free Aaron Jones movement, it was because Mike McCarthy wouldn't play him. So, I'm thrilled about this just because I think it's funny. But I do feel bad for Steelers fans. And the last thing I'll say that is amazing is that the Steelers on their own official website, I believe this, but the Steelers basically acknowledge that they know fan reaction has been mostly negative. No, like Art Rooney II was basically like, I'm not trying to win the press conference, I'm trying to win games, but acknowledge that, yes, fan reaction overall has been fairly negative. Like, no one is excited about this. What's that TV show? No one wants this. This is the NFL version of that.
Yeah, I mean, it like you said, man, it serves, I guess, some of the Pittsburgh fans right, for those who wanted Mike Tomlin out of there so quickly. When you look at, the statistics, the wins in regular season, playoff wins, all of those numbers are similar with Mike Tomlin as they are with Mike McCarthy. This is the thing. Mike Tomlin's a different guy. These are two different guys. Now, can Mike McCarthy, can he lead a locker room? Fully these guys, like, can he get a team with Mason Rudolph to the playoffs? Can he get, teams like that where you're not sure what the quarterback is? Can you get that winning record with these teams? That'll be the question. And if you're the Steelers, I would have felt like, if you were interested in guys like Clint Kubiak, Chris Shula, defensive coordinator for the Rams, if you were interested in those guys, I feel like if you're the Steelers, you could have possibly waited on them and still gotten a guy like Mike McCarthy. So that's my whole thing here. But good luck to the Steelers. Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow are still in that division.
Well, speaking of Lamar Jackson, and Lawrence, I'll stay with you, given I see you as a Ravens fan, even though you're allegedly a Falcons fan. I see your allegiance more to Lamar Jackson and co. A more exciting hire, Jesse Minter, defensive coordinator for the Chargers, who I think got a lot out of, arguably less in terms of defensive talent. And what do you think, Lawrence, of pairing a defensive coach with Lamar Jackson?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I'm seeing like a lot of people that are it's like what part of the Ravens where did they struggle down the stretch? Where did they struggle in the beginning of the season? They had a nice little 5-game stretch in the middle of the season where the defense kicked it up a little bit, but seeing Aaron Rodgers just light up that Ravens defense in week 18, only to see Aaron Rodgers fold up next week against the Texans, was probably enough for them to say, hey, let's bring us in a defensive guy, because the Ravens, speaking of talent, they have that. Obviously, you got Kyle Hamilton at the safety. You got the defensive tackle that was hurt for the season, so you were missing some guys here, but you still had Roquan Smith. Look, you get a good offensive coordinator, and Lamar's going to do what Lamar's going to do. He's proven that throughout his career. He won an MVP with his top receiver being Willie Snead. So get the defense right, and you should be able to figure it out with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson there. So, I wasn't so like, oh, he got to have an offensive guy. Like, you got an offensive guy. It's Lamar. And if you brought in Jesse Minter, the Ravens owner, Steve Bisciotti, said, hey, we want to know what Lamar thinks. So I would guess that Lamar is like at least somewhat cool with this if they made this hire. And Jesse Minter, he's been on the Ravens recently too.
Yeah, it's going to depend on the offense coordinator here, but shout out like Willie Snead just catching strays as randomly. Poor Willie Snead.
Boykins too.
Yeah, exactly. I will say this, though, as long as we're talking sort of Ravens, I do think they needed sort of a change of pace, somebody different in the locker room, obviously. But for all the hailing of John Harbaugh, we talked about this when Harbaugh got hired. Like, what's the difference between John Harbaugh and Mike McCarthy? John Harbaugh gets a $100 million deal with the Giants. Mike McCarthy widely panned, and I'm one of them, for taking the job with the Steelers. And yet, look at the records. Those guys are basically the same as well. Like, there's not a big difference between John Harbaugh and Mike McCarthy. That's not an endorsement of McCarthy, by the way. But so I do think Jesse Minter going to, like, for our purposes, it all depends on the coordinator. But Lamar's going to be able to produce points, whoever is the guy, whoever is coaching this. And I do think that Minter, if he brings some discipline to this entire organization, I think that'll help, because I think that was that's what it sounds like from people I've talked to that Lamar needs. He needs somebody that can hold him a little bit more accountable.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest RotoWorld fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.